If someone can please tell me how to figure out this Cardinals team, that would be much appreciated. Let me know in the comments because the Cardinals all of a sudden have swept the Orioles. They are 8-2 in their last 10, and now they head into a series with the Chicago Cubs, which has some major implications. The Cubs are not playing as well as the Cardinals right now. The Cubs in their last 10 games are 3-7. The Cardinals are 8-2. We'll cover the series. We will talk about the resurgence of the St. Louis Cardinals out of the depths of nowhere. All of that and much, much more on this episode of the Believe in St. Louis Cardinals podcast. So, yeah, the St. Louis Cardinals have won 8 out of their last 10 games. They've gone 8-10 or 8-2 rather. 8-2 in their last 10 games. They are, if I can do math, they swept the Orioles. They are 6-1 on this homestand, and they rounded out starting tonight with the Chicago Cubs. And almost out of nowhere, right? And if somebody can please, as I said in the opener, if somebody can please help me try to understand this team because they've made me look foolish at every passing turn. I said after this homestand, the Cardinals would likely be in a worse place than they were. That was because it was a take based on logic because the Cardinals were not playing well entering this homestand. If you remember, they had lost 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. They had lost 2 to the Mets. They lost 3 out of 4 to the Brewers, and they were headed to the Angels, and they were down by 4 runs in that first game before that explosion in the 7th inning that we talked about. And now they took 2 out of 3. They've won 3 series in a row, including a sweep against Baltimore, and now they've made me look completely foolish. And I don't know what to make of this team. I have no idea what to expect from a night in, night out basis. I'm still some part of me is still awaiting the impending collapse, the impending doom that is coming. I don't and another part of me is extremely happy with the way the Cardinals are playing because all of a sudden you look up at the standings and the Cardinals are 23 and 26. They're 5 games out of the division. And if they can make some hay against the Cubs, if they can take 2 out of 3, if they can sweep the Cubs, if they can keep this up because the Cubs are not playing well right now. The Cubs are 3-7 in their last 10 games. Now the Cubs have been playing some tough pitching. They've had to play the Braves. They got Skeens. The Pirates roughed them up. So it's been the Braves and the Pirates in back-to-back series. The Braves, Pirates, Braves at Wrigley, and they lost 2 out of 3, or yeah, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Braves, and now they come into St. Louis today after having played yesterday. The Cardinals had a day off yesterday. Advantage Cardinals. This has to you can't help but think this is advantage Cardinals, and I get it tonight. The pitching matchup is not, and we'll get into the series a little bit later. I want to focus on this resurgence by the St. Louis Cardinals. The pitching matchup tonight doesn't look great, but I would say Imanaga, the Cardinals have been really blown away by fastballs, and that's not really like he's known for his breaking ball. He's got a good fastball too, but we'll see. I kind of think that might be a good matchup for the Cardinals, but we'll find out. Obviously, Imanaga's been very, very good. But let's talk about this resurgence. Let's talk about what's gone into it. And all of a sudden, the Cardinals are hitting. They're hitting in the last 7 games. I mean, and these are some really encouraging signs. In the last 7 days, Mason Wynn Mason Wynn is leading the team in batting average. How about that? How about that for a St. Louis Cardinals team that I've criticized for not being able to develop talent for a young player like Mason Wynn, 22 years old, looks, and I don't want to get into hyperboles, but he's hitting 389 in the last 7 days. He has a 1.257 OPS with an 889 slugging percentage. He's hit 2 home runs, 3 doubles, driven in 6 runs. I mean, in 18 at bats. And I know, and I'm the first one in the group that will come to the table and say, I don't like how much they're playing Brendan Crawford. Brendan Crawford needs to go away, and we need to let Mason Wynn play. Well, the truth is, and I didn't realize this, Mason Wynn was losing weight towards the end of last year, and he was very frail. I mean, he's a young guy. I'm assuming his metabolism is at an all time high, and they're just trying to keep him healthy. So leave it to me to overreact a little bit when it comes to the St. Louis Cardinals. But I'm a fan, just like you. It's going to happen from time to time when I'm on a podcast, when I'm reacting to what I'm seeing in real time without context, without any sort of information other than what you're watching on the television. I'm not an insider. I'm a fan. I'm coming at this from the same angle, from the same cut as you. Okay. I'm a passionate fan of the St. Louis Cardinals, which is why you're here. You're watching this video on YouTube. You're watching or listening to this podcast. And Mason Wynn looks like a future superstar. He does. And I don't want to spout hyperbole. I don't want to put any, but I'm just watching what I'm watching and what I'm seeing. And I know he committed a couple errors the other night, but what I'm seeing from him at 22 years old. I mean, he's not the exact same player as we thought Jordan Walker would be, but that's what he's doing. And especially recently. If you look at totality over the entire season, it's Alec Burleson, who is somebody we'll talk about here in a little bit, and it's Mason Wynn leading the team in batting average. And when you look at OPS, guess who's leading the charge there? It's not Nolan Gorman. It's not Nolan Arenado. It's not Paul Goldschmidt. It's Wilson Contreras, who's hurt. Then it's Alec Burleson and Mason Wynn. And let's talk about Alec Burleson for a moment, because he's another player who three 375 batting average over in 24 at bats over the last 7 days. A home run. He's only driven in 2 runs, but 375, 500 slugging percentage, 900 OPS in that time, and he's been really good. He's 9 hits and 24 at bats. Really good. Solid, exactly what the Cardinals need. Nolan Gorman, 357 batting average. Yes, he struck out 8 times in 14 at bats, but he's hit 3 home runs, driven in 6 runs, 5 hits and 14 at bats. A one over a 100 slugging percentage, and the OPS is off the charts with the home runs, and he's hit 1 double in that time as well. And Nolan Arenado, the OPS is still not what we want it to be, but he's hitting 348 in the last 7. 391 slugging percentage, not very good. 766 OPS. These are not numbers that we are accustomed to outside of the average. He has, or he, no, he hasn't. He hasn't hit a home run, but he has 8 hits and 23 trips. Now the players that are still kind of coming along, the Lars Nootbaar 250 in the last 7 games. Brendan Donovan batting 240 in the last 7 games. Paul Goldschmidt batting 240 in the last couple games. But Lars Nootbaar has 2 home runs in the last 2 games. And these are some players. The truth is, with the Cardinals offense, the Cardinals, they were banking on Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt being the staples of this offense. And to this point, if you look at everything that's happened, right, the offense has been terrible for the most part. This past week, it's been pretty good, but for the most part, it's been terrible. The starting pitching, which we'll talk about here in a second, has been average to below average. And the Cardinals are 23 and 26, entering in a homestand, coming off of an 8-2 record in their last 10 against their division rival. I'll take that, because now we're in a legitimate chance to make something happen this year, which is not something I thought I'd be saying on May 24th, entering a series with the Cubs. I didn't think that I would be saying this. In fact, I thought I would be saying the exact opposite of that. I thought I'd be saying, oh, Ollie Marmol's fired. What are the Cardinals going to do with John Mozeliak? Is he going to be able to oversee this rebuild now? And I'm not trying to overreact, and I swear I'm trying not to engage in a hyperbole as I was probably doing with Mason Wynn a little bit ago. But I'm saying that the Cardinals, dare I say, they have a chance, especially if they can keep up this pace with the Cubs, because after the Cubs, they go to Cincinnati, and then it doesn't get any easier. They go to Philadelphia, but then it's Houston and Colorado and Pittsburgh. A lot of winnable games coming up. So if they do well in this series and they do well in the Cincinnati Reds series on the road, all of a sudden you could be saying, wow, they're only 2 or 3 games out of first place. Maybe they're neck and neck with the Cubs for second, right where we thought they might be. And it's astounding. It's unbelievable. I can't hardly believe it. And let's talk the pitching, because the pitching over the last week or so has also been really good. Kyle Gibson started a couple games, giving up 5 earned runs in those 2 games in 10 innings. I mean, 4.50 ERA. I mean, that's about what you would expect from him, right? But the bullpen has been really good. Kyle Leahy, zeros, thrown up zeros. Kyle Leahy out of nowhere. Andrew Kittredge, John King, like these are some guys like Leahy and John King. 4 and 2/3 innings from John King, by the way. No earned runs. No earned runs in 4 games. No earned runs. That's exactly what you want from one of your middle relievers coming out of the left side. And then your bullpen's been unbelievable with Helsley at the back end, and I want to shout out JoJo Romero as well, and Andrew Kittredge, as I said earlier. But Helsley's been great. Helsley 2 saves over the last week, you know. But the starting pitching, Sonny Gray, 5 and 2/3, 1 earned run. I talked about Kyle Gibson already. Really, the only disappointment, Matthew Liberatore. Lance Lynn has been good in his start. 6 innings, 2 hits given up. Miles Michaelis, who goes tonight, pitched well this past week. So everything's clicking for the Cardinals. This is as good as you could possibly hope for. And on top of it all, we still haven't gotten serious production from our 2 big boppers, or what was perceived to be our big boppers in Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. So kudos to the starting pitching, kudos to the bullpen especially, and the bats that have just been turned on this past week. Mason Wynn, Alec Burleson, Nolan Gorman among those featured bats. We are now going to preview the series coming up, and it all starts tonight, Friday, 7:15 at Busch Stadium. The Chicago Cubs come in. They're 3-7, as I said, at in their last 10 games. They come in, but they've faced some stiff competition in the Atlanta Braves. They have. So, and Imanaga is one of the best pitchers in baseball. In fact, he should be getting some consideration for the Cy Young, for the Cy Young award. He really should be, given his ERA is 0.84. He's 5-0, 58 strikeouts, going up against Miles Michaelis tonight. You'd have to think the Cardinals are underdogs in this game. You'd have to think so. And when you look at the Cubs and how some of their better players are doing, especially over the past week, you're catching the Cubs, as I said, at a good time, because the player that's hitting the best for them in this stretch is Dansby Swanson, and he's only played in 3 games. He's hitting 400, 4 hits and 10 at bats. But you look at the rest of the batting averages. You look at Ian Happ hitting 200, Christopher Morel hitting 176, Cody Bellinger hitting 130, Patrick Wisdom 111. Seiya Suzuki, same story. Nico Horner, Madrigal, Mastroboni, all hitting below 100. So they're in desperate need of some offense. They're not getting any offense, and let's hope that doesn't start tonight against the Cardinals. So you're catching the Cubs at a good time. And when we look at the last 7 days, we look at how Imanaga pitched in his last start. Great, 7 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts in 7 innings, zero earned runs. Fantastic. You look at who Jamison Tyon in his last start got banged up a little bit. Tyon pitches tomorrow. 3 runs allowed in 4 and 2/3 innings. And on the Cardinals website as of right now, Tyon is slated to pitch for the Cubs on Saturday, and then it's TBD for the Cardinals, and then it's TBD um, on Sunday. So we don't have a good sense of the pitching matchups heading into this series. But what I can tell you is that it's not going to be easy, right? Even though the Cubs are 3-7 in their last 10, this is going to be a good series. It always is with the Chicago Cubs. And if there's any team that could wake up these Chicago bats all of a sudden, it could be a Miles Michaelis. It could be who knows who the Cardinals are gonna throw out there because they have a day off, or they had a day off on Thursday, so they can kind of reset a little bit. I would be I think Sonny Gray would likely get the ball on Sunday. I just the way things are lining up. He pitched on Monday against Baltimore, so that Saturday or Sunday to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. So the fifth day, would be Saturday, but he could go Sunday as well. I mean, who knows what the Cardinals want to do with their starters, but I think Sonny's going to get the ball on one of those 2 days. So you feel pretty good about that. And you feel pretty good heading into these series. But like I said, who knows what's going to happen in the when the Cardinals meet against the Cubs. You can throw the records out the window because it doesn't really matter. And it's an important series for both teams. It really is. Because the Cubs need to stop the bleeding and the Cardinals need to keep this momentum going. And the Cardinals really, the keys to the series are going to be, can Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt get going against a good pitching staff in the Chicago Cubs? Because the rookies, the younger players are going to need experienced veterans to come through in tough games, in tough moments. The young kids have been coming through. The Mason Wins, the Alec Burlesons, the Nolan Gormans have been coming through for you. Where are you, Paul Goldschmidt? Where are you, Nolan Arenado? And I know his average is good, but where's the power? Are we going to get that power back from Nolan Arenado? And I guess we would, I take him continuing his production that he's given to the Cardinals, but I don't know if that's a fourth or a third hitter in the lineup anymore. He might, he might need to move down to fifth or sixth in the lineup. I think that would be just fine if that's what the decision was. But the Cardinals really need these veterans to step up. And it's going to be so interesting tonight to see how Michaelis does against this Cubs team, because Michaelis, to me, I think it's a great matchup for these Cubs hitters because Michaelis doesn't have overpowering stuff. And he's, oftentimes pitches to contact and doesn't strike a lot of people out. But it's going to be fascinating to see the game tonight. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think the Cardinals are going to do this weekend against the Cubs. I'm going to stay positive, man, for a change. I've been so down and negative about this team because, to be honest, there hasn't been much to cheer for. I'm going to say the Cardinals take 2 out of 3. I think they win tonight, and I think they win the Sonny Gray start. I think Sonny's going to pitch one of these 2 games. But let me know what you think in the comments. And until next time, let's go Redbirds. Let's get a sweep. Screw the 2 out of 3. Let's get a sweep against those gosh darn Cubs, those no good Cubbies that we don't like in Chicago. And until next time, see you later. Let's go Redbirds.